Single-family home sales are on the rise, easily outstripping the supply across many Canadian housing markets, while the downtown apartment condo market is really starting to show signs of weakness and price declines. This is your October 2020 Canadian housing market update. Hey everyone, welcome back to Bold Prairie Real Estate and another one of these Canadian housing market monthly updates. If you're new here, my name is Matthew Pfeiffer. I do these each and every single month where I break down all the major Canadian real estate markets. Plus, I do educational content for both buyers and sellers. So if you want to learn more about Canadian real estate, go ahead, hit the subscribe button, give me a like while you're at it if you find this educational or informative. Going into September, we expected to start to see some trends developing, and boy have we ever seen some trends in the Canadian real estate market. En masse, buyers are shifting to single family homes and away from the downtown core. As such, prices and the number of homes sold in the suburbs for single family homes is going through the roof, while the number of listings in downtown areas like Toronto, Vancouver, and Montreal are seeing a huge surge of listings for those apartment style condos. And that's likely going to lead to price declines in those types of products. Before heading out to the rest of Canada, let's start off in my hometown, Regina, Saskatchewan. We're gonna break down the Regina stats, but I gotta get you a bad dad joke, and I'm always a sucker for anything space related. So here you go, a space related bad dad joke. What is an astronaut's favorite part of his computer? The space bar. We're gonna kick this off, as always, in my hometown and the best city in Canada, Regina, Saskatchewan. I don't care what you guys from Winnipeg say, Regina's still a better city than Winnipeg. We had a huge month, once again, for home sales in Regina. 340 houses were sold in the month of September. That's a 34% increase versus September 2019. And we're 9% year-to-date more homes sold in 2020 than we had in 2019. So sales continue to be very strong in Regina, which is a little unusual. We haven't had this in quite a long time. The number of homes listed in September was 491. That's a huge increase. That's 30% higher than 2019. But the total number of homes that have been listed year to date in Regina is still down 5% versus where it was in 2019. Now that gap has been starting to shrink a little bit as we've had a couple of months in a row with big numbers of listings, but still 5% fewer homes have been listed in 2020 than 2019. What's been kind of interesting to watch is the inventory levels in Regina. Normally you'd start in January, they'd be a little low, they would increase all the way till we got to summer, then they would drop back off through summer, pick back up in October, fall off again. But what we've had all year long, 1,150 to 1,200 houses on the market. It's been really interesting to see that number basically stay completely flat all year long. The increase in sales and the lower inventory levels has resulted in prices increasing in Regina. 9 months in a row now we've seen prices increase. Since the start of the year, where we had prices were bottomed out, they've now increased almost 10%, where $278,000 is our benchmark composite price. So sales in Regina are strong, listings are lower than they have been, and there has been a lot of competition for single family homes. The condo market though continues to be one that is price sensitive. You have to price condos appropriately. If you're $5 high, you're probably dead in the water. You have to be price sensitive on condos. So that's the Regina market. Let's flip over to the computer here and start going through all the rest of the Canadian real estate markets, starting off on a highly requested one, Victoria. Victoria was the most requested city for me to go over in the comment section. So let's start off in Victoria with 989 homes sold in the month of September. That is up 60.6%, and it's up 1% versus last month. The number of active listings on the market, 2,389 active listings. That is down 15.4% versus last year. It's also down 7.5% versus last month. The benchmark price is $879,000. That is up 3.5% versus last year, but it is down 1.1% versus last month. Heading out to Vancouver, where they had 3,643 homes were sold in the month of September. That is up 56.2% versus September 2019, but it is down 16% from the previous month. Now those numbers are up 44.8% above their 10-year sales average as well. It's the most houses ever sold in the Vancouver area in the month of September, and single family home sales were up 75%. The number of listings that were added to the market is up 31.6% compared to last year, and it's up 10% compared to last month. There's about 13,000 properties on the market right now in Vancouver. That's down 2.6% from last year, but it's up 2.3% from last month. There's a couple of months in a row now that we have seen listings start to add up, specifically the downtown condo market, which has seen the highest number of condos for sale that we've had in the last 5 years. But single family homes, on the other hand, are at a 5-year sales high. The home price index is $1,041,300. That is up 5.8% from last year and up 0.3% versus last month. So in Vancouver, we're seeing the diverging trend of single family homes selling very well, while the condo market is starting to see some signs of weakness with inventory piling up and the number of sales dropping. Moving on to Calgary, they had 1,702 sales in the month of September. That's up 25% year over year and up 7.5% versus last month. Sales in Calgary, though, are still down 13% year to date. There's 2,715 new listings that came on the market in the month of September. That is up 0.1% versus last year, and it's up 6% versus last month. Active listings to start the month, 6,225. That's down 12% versus last year and down 4% versus the previous month. Their months of inventory dropped to 3.66 months, which is down 29.7% versus last year and down 9% versus last month. The home price benchmark there, so composite benchmark price is $421,700, which is down 0.2% from last year, but it's up 0.1% from last month. So prices in Calgary are basically flat. Okay, looking at Edmonton. So this is the entire Edmonton area. 1,872 homes were sold. That is up 35.5% versus last year, but it's down 0.21% versus last month. Number of new listings that came on the market, 2,981. That's up 10.4% versus last year, and it's up 5.9% versus last month. There's 7,248 active listings to start the month, but inventory is down 15.5% from last year and down 4% from the month before. The average price in Edmonton is $376,000, which is up 7.1% from last year, and it's up 0.5% from the month before. Now on to the second best city in Saskatchewan, Saskatoon. 430 homes were sold. That's up 40% versus 2019, but it's down 7% from the month before. 812 new listings hit the market. That is up 12.8% versus 2019, and it's up 4% from the previous month. There's 1,475 active listings to start the month. So inventory is down about 30% from last year, and it's down 1% from last month. They've got about 3.4 months of inventory, which is just slightly up from the month before. Their benchmark price is up 5% year over year now. So it's $303,000, and that's up 1% from the month before. Single family homes continue to sell very well in Saskatoon. The supply of condos is high, and pricing is very important for the condo market in Saskatoon. If you price your condo too high, it's gonna be very difficult to sell because there's so much inventory sitting up there in Saskatoon. Okay, let's talk about Winnipeg now. And I've ran out of bad things to say about the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. They still suck. But 1,777 homes were sold in the month of September in Winnipeg. That's up 46.7% versus 2019, but it's down 4% versus last month. There's 2,290 new listings on the market. That is down 3.2% from last year and down 4% from last month. Active listings on the market right now, 3,942. That is down 34.4%. That's from last year, and it's also down 7% from last month. The average price in Winnipeg, $338,700. Single family homes continue to sell very well in Winnipeg. The number of homes for sale has been rapidly depleted by the current push from the buyer side of things, and that's putting upward pressure on the real estate market in Winnipeg. It wouldn't be a Canadian housing market update if we didn't talk about Canada's biggest city. So let's talk about the Toronto real estate market. And once again, Toronto saw a massive month for sales. 11,000 houses were sold in Toronto in the month of September. That's up 42.3% versus September 2019, and it's up 3% versus last month. This is actually the most number of homes ever sold in the GTA in the month of September, and they just had the busiest third quarter for sales that they've ever seen in the GTA. Sales for Toronto have now surpassed where they were at year to date in 2019, so they're ahead of where they were last year. The number of new listings also spiked though, 30.8% increase in new listings. So that's versus 2019, and it's also up 10% versus last month. So there's about 18,000 active listings currently on the market in Toronto. That's up 5.3% versus last year, and it's up 9% versus last month. So the month of inventory in Toronto remains unchanged at 1.7%. But we got to talk about the downtown condo market for Toronto because the inventory levels there are skyrocketing. They're up 215% versus last year and up 12.5% just versus last month. The Toronto apartment style downtown kind of high-rise condos, those are showing real signs of weakness right now. There is a big surge of inventory that's hit the market recently, and that's going to put downward pressure on prices if this continues. The benchmark price in Toronto though is up 11.6% from last year, and it's up 1% versus last month. So it's just shy of $900,000 in Toronto. But that has been driven predominantly by the single family market, which continues to be very hot in the GTA. Let's go out to the nation's capital. 2,329 homes were sold. That's up 51% versus last year and up 13.4% just from last month. The 5-year average for houses sold in Ottawa, 16,000. Again, they did 2,300 sales in the month. The number of new listings that hit the market, 2,900 new listings hit the market last month. That's up 35% versus last year, and it's up 15% versus last month. The active listings though is 2,033, so that's down 40% versus last year. Ottawa has less than 1 month's worth of inventory right now, and that has pushed prices up dramatically. The average price in Ottawa right now is $561,000. That's up 26.9% versus last year and up 2% versus last month. Let's talk about Montreal now. They had 5,147 sales in the Montreal area. That's up 42% versus September of last year and up 3% versus last month. Their median price for a single family home is up 21% versus last year and up 1% versus last month. It's $430,000. Number of new listings that hit the market last month, 5,147. That's up 35% from last year, but it's down 10% from the month before. So the active listings to start the month in Montreal is 14,148, and that's down 16% from last year, but it's up 9% from last month. And much like Toronto and Vancouver, we're seeing that shift in the Montreal area away from the downtown core, away from apartment style condos to single family homes. We're seeing a huge push on price in single family. while inventory is stacking up in the apartment style condos in downtown Montreal. Let's finish things off in the East Coast, out in Halifax. So the entire Halifax area, 824 homes were sold. That's up 30% from last year and up 5% from last month. There's 14,666 active listings to start the month, and that's down 45% from last year, and it's also down 5% versus last month. The average price in Halifax is $349,000. That's up 11% versus last year and 2% versus last month. It's the same old story in Halifax. They have very limited supply, strong demand. It's pushing prices up like crazy in Halifax. So as you can see, there's some distinct trends starting to appear in the Canadian housing market. Buyers are absolutely moving away from the downtown core into the suburbs looking for single family homes. And as such, the supply of that type of home is dwindling and prices are increasing like crazy as buyers snatch up those properties. Where on the flip side, the downtown apartment style condos in the major centers, but all across Canada, we're seeing less buyer demand for that and inventory levels starting to rise. The Airbnb market has started to be put up for sale, as well as the international student market, which would appeal to the investor type that would normally rent those out. That isn't there anymore, and they're having to put them on the market because they can't carry them vacant for a long period of time. There's a huge surge for those apartment style condos in the major centers. They're coming up for sale, and that inventory, as it starts to stack up, is going to drive prices down in that segment. So if you're in the market for a single family home, I don't see demand letting up. I don't see prices going anywhere but up anytime soon. Whereas the apartment style condos, those appear to be softening. Prices are probably going to be continuing to come down on those. Now, if you're looking at buying, you want information about buying, I've got a series of videos right here, all dedicated to you, the home buyer. But if you're thinking about selling a place, I have a whole brand new series of videos right here, all about selling houses in Canada. As always, guys, thanks very much for watching.